There's a clarity that comes to you when you're hanging by a thread. I think that's why so many people like rock climbing, like your priest who likes rock climbing. And the last time I went, it's actually been a little while ago. It was on Camelback Mountain with one of the park rangers. And he wasn't supposed to be taking me up there. I'm sure we violated the city of Phoenix safety laws and all kinds of stuff. But so we weren't violating safety laws as far as the climbing, though. He was very careful with the ropes and the belays and all this kind of stuff. But when you are up there and you see where others have died in accidents and all of the beauty that's up there, and we saw foxes that day and all kinds of crazy stuff on my holy mountain, Camelback. You have your wits about you. You don't like daydream or start to think about whatever or worry. You're not even, there's nothing else but the next hold or the next place you're going to put your foot or safely getting down or whatever it is. You're not distracted with anything else except what you're doing. I mean, there's no distraction. You're just doing that one thing and you're concentrating. And the man in the gospel, I know it's a leap because he's not rock climbing, but the man in the gospel, this blind man in Jericho, as Jesus is coming in, he seems to me like a guy who's hanging on by a thread. He's begging, he's by himself, he's crying out, and he hears all this commotion, right? And he says, what is it? What's the commotion? You can't see it. You know, what is it? And they say, it's Jesus of Nazareth. And he does a really interesting thing. He doesn't begin to cry out, Jesus of Nazareth. I don't know if you caught this. He doesn't cry out, Jesus of Nazareth, have mercy on me. He says something very different than Jesus of Nazareth. They say it's Jesus of Nazareth. He cries out, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. It's a very meaningful statement. I think maybe it's lost on us if we don't have it clear in our heads. Jesus of Nazareth is like, Father James of Phoenix or, Joe of Phoenix or something. It's a place name. But Son of David is recognizing something very different about Jesus. The blind man is screaming out that he expects and he believes Jesus to be the Messiah, the promised one of David, the one who's going to come and fulfill all the promises. And the one who, by the way, if he's the son of David, would be like David, who spared those who were blind and lame. David was a king who was ruling a kingdom, but when it came time to, even his enemies, he would spare those who were blind and lame. So here he is yelling out, Son of David, you're the Messiah. You're the promised one. You are the one who had been promised will restore sight to the blind. And in the Gospel of Luke, you might find it interesting to know that prior to this story, we've already heard that prophecy twice. He's going to restore the sight to the blind. We heard it again, restore the sight to the blind. And then we have this story as he's going into Jericho, ultimately going to meet up with Zacchaeus. But prior to Zacchaeus, we have him with this blind man. And it's in all of the synoptic gospels. And interesting, it's told differently in all of them. So a little homework later to read these and see what's different. But he yells out, Messiah, promised one, the one who's going to restore sight to the blind, have mercy on me. He's desperate and he's recognizing here's his chance. Jesus has come close and he has a chance. And he's not going to let it go. He's got it clear in his head. This is my chance. Son of David, have mercy on me. There are 17 verses in the New Testament that call Jesus the Son of David. It's a lot of verses for that one title of Jesus, because he's got lots of titles. So here's what I wonder about us. I wonder if we, when we're feeling at the end of our ropes, hanging by a thread, desperate maybe like this man, do we find the faith that this man found? You know, Jesus, the punchline will say, your faith has healed you. And he can say it because the man has shown his faith. And I wonder when we're desperate how we handle it. I know how I handle it. Sometimes I do rely on the Lord. I do find the faith that maybe isn't active all the time. But I also know it's true for me, and maybe this is also true for you. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just manage it. Sometimes I just panic. I get anxious or whatever. There's all these ways we might handle these things instead of actually calling out to the Lord. Lord, have mercy on me and this situation I'm in, or this problem I'm facing, or this decision I need to make. Guide me. And we almost will turn to the Lord as a last resort. And that's not what the Lord has for us. So he says to the blind man what I think he says to us. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. All right. What do you want me to do for you? Now, I'm not saying that the Lord is, available to deliver every request or any of that kind of stuff. But he is asking us that question. I'm in this situation. Well, what do you want? I want you to have mercy on me. All right, I'll have mercy on you. This is the exchange that goes on maybe daily for all of us. But there's times when it doesn't. We have this gospel as a signpost on our way to the Lord, that he is with us, that he has come near to us, that he has come and fulfilled the promises, that he will restore sight to the blind. So Jesus, when the man says, I'd like to see, he says, receive your sight. No one had ever said that before Jesus said it. What human could do it? What promised idol or whatever could do it? Only Jesus. Only the Lord could say, it's yours. You can have it back. Receive it. Take it. I give it to you. And that's it. It was done. And the man is faithful. It says in the gospel, receive your sight, your faith has made you well. Immediately he received his sight and followed him, glorifying God, and all the people, when they saw it, gave praise to God. And there was a crowd there. All of a sudden, they're all giving praise to God. And this man goes from being alone and begging to being like the missionary or the disciple or the one who converted them all, or at least showed them who they should have been seeing all along. He was the one who actually had sight to start with, the sight of faith. But he didn't have his eyes working. So, the question is about us who have sight. Do we have our faith working? Can we see with our faith? Do we still rely on the Lord and trust him more? Or is it only better planning all the time and then fretting over when things aren't going our way or whatever? Or do we kind of settle in and just trust the Lord no matter what's going on? Trusting him no matter what we see with our eyes, but trusting him in that sight of faith the Lord has us. He's drawn near to us. And he has come to save us. And he's come to save us, and we'll say this again in the annual meeting, but he's come to save us from the darkness and despair of sin. He's come to save us from the darkness and despair of sin. So, if you're feeling the darkness and the despair of sin, which is what sin brings to us, we think it will bring us what it promises us. It promises us happiness or comfort or freedom or some sort of joy or some sort of whatever the promise is, and it never delivers on the promise. It only brings darkness and despair. And the Lord's come to save us from that, to break the bond of that, to release us from that, to break the habit of that, so that we really can not only see with our eyes, but see with our hearts. That sight of faith, that sin will darken, and the Lord wants to restore. So we become this guy in the gospel. We have to be the one saying, I'd like to see again. My heart is a little clouded over. My mind is like a dusty mirror. I can't get the reflection. We have to call out, I'd like to receive my sight. I'd like to see again. I'd like to have that faith again like this guy. Like the faith I remember having before. Like we have to be in that position, always crying out, restore my sight. Give me the sight back. I want to see you. I want to trust you. That's what he's promised to do. So when we ask him, I'd like to receive my sight, it's saying, do the thing you want to do, Lord. I'm wanting that. I'm ready for that. I'm willing. I'm accepting that. Receive your sight. And it says he received it. There's an exchange there. It wasn't against his will. I'd like to receive my sight. All right, then receive it. And that's the position we're in. And that's where we are, even in this moment, in that place of trying to ask the Lord to restore our sight, our faith. And he is quick to do so because that is what he wants to do. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.